Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to Wasteland Talks, my weekly talk show where I talk about whatever the hell I want. And this is an episode of Wasteland Discussion. So, generally, I don't do a whole lot of episodes of this where it's literally just talking about a specific topic related to general film stuff. But I felt like having Mike Hilty on here to talk about what the hell's going on with streaming and why we're just going back to cable seemed like an interesting conversation to have because that's exactly it. So, Mike, welcome aboard.
Appreciate it, Shane. Looking forward to this conversation. This is pretty much going to be a giant episode of, what really grinds my gears?
Yes.
Streaming bundles. You know what really grinds my gears? Commercials. Cheaper streaming services with commercials. Like, we have literally gone all the way back. I,
Well,
I
yeah,
don't
because they
understand what we're doing.
we paid for premium channels to not get commercials, and now we have to pay for premium to get non-commercials
Mhm.
and bundling. Like, God, Mike, do you have actual cable or do you have like live TV through a streaming service or no TV?
We have zero TV. So
Okay.
it's all streaming services. Now, we've tried a couple different services to watch cable. So we tried Xfinity over by
Mhm.
me. They had a streaming only package where you don't get a cable box or anything like that. It's all just through streaming. We had that for a while, and then we realized we never, we never watched it ever.
Mhm.
I've tried so many trials of Sling TV that I'm running out of email addresses to actually use for a free trial because if I want to watch sports or in the rare instance where rugby is actually on TV,
Mhm.
we could try using that. I tried Fubu TV. Um, Actually, I still have it because I forgot to cancel it like an idiot. But I wanted to watch something. I think I wanted to watch basketball. That's it. Um, and I was looking forward to the possibility of a sports only package
Mhm.
for streaming stuff, but when I found out that it's like $42 a month, I'm like, absolutely not. No, that's way too expensive. But then I also read that it is being challenged in court. It's like, God, we can't have anything nice. I should just sign back up for cable if I really want to watch something.
So I watch baseball, football, and professional wrestling, mostly WWE, occasionally watching AEW. I have Hulu Live TV,
Okay.
and I have the bundle, no commercials, with
Mhm.
Disney Plus and ESPN Plus.
How often do you use ESPN Plus? Because I have a similar bundle without the Hulu Live TV, and
A
I
decent amount because like a lot of it's because I'm trying to use it. Because I I'll be watching stuff and I'll have sports on in the background on my laptop on Hulu Live TV. And they've had a decent amount of baseball on recently. I was actually watching Ryder lacrosse, women's lacrosse, because
okay.
so like they have college sports, and it gets me to watch like other sports because
Hmm.
I enjoy sports in general.
Yeah.
I've watched some tennis on there and stuff like that too. But like it's 99.50 now
Mm.
for everything. I'm just like, holy shit. Like, how much do I want to watch the Phillies and WWE? Because realistically, and in January, Raw's going to be on Netflix. So it's like I'm contemplating, and I really need to save up for a new car at the
Hmm.
moment, and I'm a bit cash poor. So I'm just like, I might drop it because it's just too much money. But you know, I never watch television shows live. I always wait for the next day. And it's basically like if you have Paramount Plus, watch CBS stuff. If you have Peacock, you could watch NBC stuff. If you have Hulu, you can watch ABC stuff. And it's just like, this is just everything. Even network television and Fox is on Hulu as well, which I've been trying to not use my Hulu app for non-live TV because I'm trying to get used to it being on Disney Plus. So I like
I, I can't do it. I just can't because I don't know. I feel like since I've got kids, I have Disney Plus for a very specific purpose, and
yep,
that's Bluey and
yep.
a lot of the kid shows. But we 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 took a trip to a day trip to Brisbane to see some sites for Bluey, and I got to tell you, Brisbane, you need to get your shit together because you are not capitalizing enough on this Bluey exposure at all. So anyway, like, but to your point though, um, I have been finding myself evaluating a lot more about the streaming services that I actually use and what I'm going to be using them for in the future. So, for example, Amazon, I have an Amazon Prime account, so I'm
Yep,
always going to be using that. Am I
yep.
going to pay the extra so that I don't need commercials? I'm thinking about it because some of these commercials are starting to get to be a bit much for certain shows. But I don't know. Like, I
Mhm,
know that I'm always going to have Amazon Prime. Everything else is a little up in the air. And
mhm.
the main things that are differentiating all these streaming services now are sports and original content, just
Yeah,
like some of these other channels when you get a straight, when you just go with cable.
yeah,
So I don't, it's frustrating. It's just really
yeah.
frustrating that there were so many different streaming services out there available. And I feel like the pandemic is when the wave just it got to the very crest. It got to the very top because this was this was the time that people needed their streaming services. And now
Mhm.
that the costs have gotten so out of control, especially if you're one of those snobs like me that don't like commercials, that you got to pay extra for all that stuff where and then I can't even share my password with friends anymore
Yep.
because Netflix is freaking out. And this all comes down to just this is all just corporate greed at the end of the
Mhm.
day. That's what this boils down to because these streaming services, they are throwing spaghetti at a wall, hoping all this content sticks, and maybe at like Netflix, they used to throw like a whole pot of spaghetti and now they've scaled back because they realized
Yeah.
that doesn't work because they're spreading their resources too thin and they're not punching out good content. They're just not. So I
And you know what's crazy is most of these streaming services are from companies that are just cable networks.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it's like, because like I remember when you could go onto like NBC.com and like catch an episode you might have missed. I have a whole streaming service, Peacock, for that very reason. And I finally watched We Are Lady Parts season two, but that's the first time that I've watched something on Peacock that wasn't WWE in a while.
Mhm.
And it's the kind of thing where it's just like these are going to start closing at some point. Some of these streaming services are going to fold,
Mhm.
and Hulu, they're already folding into Disney Plus. I don't know if it's still going to be like a Hulu as option by itself anymore, or it's just going to be a channel on Disney Plus.
Mhm.
You have Max, which was coming close to taking market share to top market share away from Netflix until the whole AT&T debacle
Mhm.
and everything and the rebrand and stuff like that. And now they're really trying to push HBO again. which is why the Penguin's on HBO.
Weird. That's so weird that HBO should be your premier thing that you're offering through Max, as opposed to what they were trying to shove down our throat, which was all the reality stuff. And
Yep.
I do not understand why Max exists and Discovery Plus exists as well.
I
Like
thought it
I
was
don't
combined. Like,
it's
why do you have a separate? Why do you have a separate Discovery
I,
Plus still?
I don't know. I don't know. It makes no
No
sense to
sense.
me. And then I think the ones that are the most at risk though are the some of the smaller ones that don't have as much market share. Like I
Paramount Plus is definitely one of them.
if I was a betting person, I would think Paramount Plus would be the one that I would think is going to fold the quickest because you hear all these reports about, it's starting to license content through other platforms, and then not only that, it's just nobody's subscribing to it. Not even the Trek fans are subscribing to it anymore. And if Trek fans are your big base, and then they're giving a
Taylor
lot of their
Sheridan.
content.
Taylor Sheridan
I mean,
fans.
if that's your selling point, that's just simply not enough.
Mhm.
And right behind them is probably Peacock, who
Who might lose WWE content at the beginning of 2026. And I have a sinking feeling WWE Network's hopping to Netflix. Then,
which which would make sense if
yeah,
because
with this
because
new
net
deal and everything.
because
Yep.
Netflix is making a big push to get more sports because at first it
Yes.
was it was the original content boom, and then it was the existing content that we need to just keep grabbing to make your streaming service more attractive. So some of the prices that some of these streaming service paid to get like shows like South Park and Friends, both of those were on HBO Max, and then when those licensing deals are up, wouldn't it just make sense for Friends to go to Peacock and for South Park to go back to Paramount? But
Well, that's the plan if Paramount Plus is still there by the time
right.
that licensing agreement's up.
Mhm.
It's just I could imagine that
Mhm.
Amazon winds up buying up a bunch of this stuff and then they just permanently become channels.
Mhm.
Because that's the thing. One, AMC Plus, I do not pay for that separately because the app is trash.
Mhm.
And it's not like Prime is a good interface, but it
No.
leaps and bounds better. But like I have AMC Plus. Like I was trying to find my bought content because I bought 9 to 5 and then I was doing a movie night event for Ryder on Monday night. And I'm just like, because the interface is terrible, I couldn't find my purchase stuff.
Mhm.
And I'm just looking at all the channels that I have. And it's like MGM Plus, AMC Plus, Paramount Plus. It's just this is going to turn into that, and if that turns into that, then it's just cable. It really is just cable. They're just
Well,
they even call it channels.
Apple does something similar
They
too,
do, yeah.
and it's not as good as what Amazon does. But yeah, I don't quite understand what the logic is with that because a lot of the content that's on AMC Plus recently ended up on Netflix, and you're
A
starting to
lot of
see.
content is winding up on Netflix because they're desperate for exposure because they don't have a whole lot of subscribers.
Well, but also they haven't had a whole lot of content since The Walking Dead and Breaking Bad have ended. They're trying their hardest with the Dark Universe with Anne Rice's stuff, but it's only been
Horny
Interview with the Vampire.
vampires.
Yeah, it's just been Interview
Horny
with the
gay
Vampire.
vampires. That's basically it.
Right. So, I don't know, like I still don't get why MGM Plus exists and why
No.
all the MGM stuff
Also,
doesn't just go to Amazon
Amazon.
exclusively because a lot of
Yes.
that stuff already is on Amazon, and the only difference between the two is the MGM original stuff, which do you watch any of those? Like, do you watch a lot of those shows? Because I'm sure you watch maybe one,
Maybe.
maybe.
And that's the thing. Usually I only use it to watch movies.
Hmm.
And that's the thing. Like, the main reason I use AMC Plus is because of Shudder, to be
Yeah.
frank.
Hmm.
And like the main reason why I'm looking at a lot of these is because of my streaming Wasteland podcast, to be perfectly honest.
Oh, I appreciate that
And
so much
where's
from
our
you.
money? Looking at you out there. Where's our money?
Hmm.
We're sending people. Um, and this is a bit like movie. Like, unless you're gonna really commit to watching all the new films on there, it's a tough sell.
Hmm.
And like I usually watch it because of their movie original films that come out and stuff like that, which they do have really good quality ones. They're the most art house films you're gonna find. But and then like I was a charter member of the Criterion channel, have
Ooh,
my metal card that I got for it. And there's so much amazing content on there. And the tricky thing is a decent amount of it's on Max too.
yeah. I mean, I feel like that was a selling point of Max originally is that they had, Turner Classic Movies,
Yep.
Studio Ghibli, and then uh Criterion Channel stuff.
Mhm.
But I so like because I'm taking a look right now. I'm looking at some of these streaming bundles now because that's
Yep.
that's the trend now is
Yes.
we we had all these streaming services all individually competing against one another. And then they figured out, wow, this is really expensive and it's really hard to get subscribers. So we're going to raise prices on people, try to offer commercial options for cheaper, which
Mhm.
I don't know, like if that helps some people see your content, that's fine. But there are some streaming services out there that if you have the ad tier version, you're not going to get some of the content. So,
Yes.
so,
Peacock.
yeah, looking at you, Peacock. But so I took a look at some of these, like the Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max bundle, for example. Max is swapped out for ESPN Plus. Like, okay, that's fine, I guess. It starts out at 16.99. But now I'm just having to do the math in my head to try to see how I can maximize my dollars in order to watch the most content, just like cable. And at least with cable, I only have like two or three cable options that I want because I'm not going to watch like 600 channels of stuff. I usually keep it pretty tight and usually only
Yeah.
watch like a handful of stuff. And maybe if there's a sports bundle, maybe I'll
Mhm.
consider that. But even then, I I only watch like a couple things. Like if there was if there's a way that you could take all the existing channels and just kind of put together your own package of
Mhm.
all these different options. So like let's say for example for me, I probably want like for me personally, I would have like HBO,
Mhm.
TNT, maybe TBS, all the basic channels,
Yeah.
and oh, I don't know, ESPN.
I
Just
think there's options out there that you could do stuff like that.
is there because I
I
feel
know
like
there
they
was at some point, but to be frank, I haven't paid that much attention to cable in a long time.
yeah. But again, this just goes to show that we have literally just come full circle from this cord cutting option
Mhm.
and now the cord is still out there. It's just repackaged into something else. And that's what's so frustrating about this is that there is literally no difference now between these streaming services and cable. It's just the content that you want to choose or that you want to consume. That's it. If you're one of those people who wants to see things live, then cable is probably your best bet. But
Mm.
if you're not, then you're just going to have to figure out which streaming service package you're going to get in order to get the most out of it. And if you really add it up, it's probably more expensive to go with all the streaming services. But
It's getting very expensive.
you're probably not going to get the content because the majority of the content that I watch is now streaming
Mhm.
services exclusive.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, when I went on my vacation, I had to teach my daughter how to channel surf. She's like, "What is this? Like, I can't just watch whatever I want." I'm like, "No, no, this is how we used to watch TV once upon a time. You just
Yep.
had to scroll through all the channels and figure out if there's something that you want to watch." And she's got a severe case of FOMO. So if she sees something that she wants to watch, so let's say, for example, she watched something, she found something on Nickelodeon. She's like,
Yeah.
"Well, what else is out there?" I'm like, "Well, we keep scrolling, and then we get to the end, and she's like, 'That's it?'" I'm like, "Well, we could have watched what you wanted to watch on Nickelodeon, but you wanted to see what else was out there." She's like, "Well, let's go back." Well, we had spent so much time scrolling through all the other stuff
It's
that the show
over.
that she wanted to watch is already over. And then she gets pissed because the commercials were on. And she's like, "I'm not used to watching things with commercials." So I had to recondition my daughter to say, "Hey, if we're watching TV at a hotel, you're either going to have to channel surf or you're going to have to be patient, and you just kind of have to deal with what you're going to have to do." Because
Mm.
like I hate to go, well, back in my day with her, but I did. It's like we had a channel back in my day called the preview channel where it just went through all the things that you could possibly watch at a given time. It updated every 30 minutes just so that it kept up with everything that you're watching, and you had to plan things accordingly. No internet, none of that crap. You just had to just make sure that you did that. No reminders. You just have to do your best. And if you forgot, you forgot. You just have to wait until the next time it comes on. And she's like, "Why? That sounds dumb." Like, it was dumb, but this was the only way that we could do it. There was no
Mm.
DVR, there was no, just watching online afterwards. It is what it is. And it's gotten more sophisticated, so that's definitely a plus, but it's now just getting so much more expensive to watch the specific shows that I want to watch. And nowadays I'm gonna have to time my free trials of certain things because I don't have anything on AMC or on AMC Plus right now that I really want to watch, and I
Mm.
don't have anything on Paramount Plus that I want to watch right now. I mean, at least Paramount Plus has football on right
Yeah.
now, but it's a crapshoot because the Bears aren't always going to be on Paramount Plus because CBS hates the Bears.
Yeah.
Everybody hates the Bears right now.
As we are recording, the Giants are playing on Amazon for Thursday night football. Last time I checked, Dallas was winning. Surprise, surprise. But and even just that, being able to watch all football now is a crapshoot.
Well, even so, basketball, for example,
Mhm.
basketball now starting not this season, but maybe next season. Basketball is going to be on NBC, so there's a chance it could be on Peacock. So
Mm.
that would catch my attention when it comes
Yeah.
to subscribing to Peacock, assuming that it's still around. But it's also going to be on Amazon as well. So it's like, okay, cool. But with football and basketball, it's not always on ESPN Plus. NBA games are not on ESPN Plus. I get why, but it still sucks. And
Mhm.
the only time that football games, like NFL games, like I don't really watch college football, but the only time that NFL games are on ESPN Plus is if there's a doubleheader on Monday Night Football. And sometimes it's on ABC. And like I think it's ABC and ESPN Plus, and then one's on ESPN, and it's usually
Yeah.
like the B game that's on there. So that's fine. I'll do that, but I don't like for me, I don't see a whole lot of value right now in ESPN Plus, and it doesn't make sense to drop it from the Disney bundle because the just Hulu and Disney Plus bundle is only like a couple bucks more expensive.
Yeah.
So like
What's interesting to me too that's reinforcing this cable thing is that you could go on Peacock and watch live TV.
Hmm.
You could watch NBC, USA, and like it's literally just cable.
Hmm.
It's just that you're paying for specific streaming services that maybe you'll get a few extra sh- original shows and then some movies to watch, but Peacock's just basically like NBC
Hmm.
online. Paramount Plus literally was ABC, CBS All Access.
It was, yeah. And then it
Yeah.
just decided to rebrand and just bundle a bunch of channels together and form one service, similar to what we had before.
Hmm.
Like, so let me ask you this.
Uh,
Where is this going? What is eventually going to happen with this? Because right now I think we both resigned ourselves to the fact that a couple of these streaming services are eventually going to go under, and then a lot of their content is going to probably flow into some of these bigger
yeah.
platforms like Amazon and Netflix.
Netflix.
So, but what do we do? What do we do from here? Because
I
do
have a
like,
s-
go ahead.
I have a sinking feeling that, like you said, they're gonna weed out a bunch of streaming services, and at the end of the day, it's going to be a few streaming services that if you pay for them, it's probably going to be at that point. It's probably going to be as expensive as cable buying like the three streaming services that are left, and just the amount of contents on it. It's just like it's just cable again. Like
Mhm.
Amazon's just gonna have a bunch of channels.
Yeah.
You flip to the channel that you want to go to, and you watch, and then they're gonna have some live TV and stuff like that. They're already doing live sports. Amazon's doing live sports. Netflix has already explored live content. It's just,
Well, and the outlier here is Apple right now, right?
yep,
Because Apple Apple does just exclusively original content. They do some licensing for movies, which they offer sometimes
yeah,
on Apple TV Plus, which I find to be pretty good because they curate it specifically to gear towards some of the stuff that they have that's original. And then
yeah,
they have made a big push for soccer and baseball right now.
yes.
And poor hockey is just left out in the lurch here because a lot of hockey's on ESPN Plus right now, and
Hmm.
we all know what's going on with ESPN Plus right now.
Yep.
So I think most of the live sports are covered. So, and now you're seeing certain streaming shows be put on cable.
Yep.
So, for example, Tulsa King. That's a great
Yes.
example because Tulsa
100%.
King started out as a Paramount Plus exclusive. And it did, I don't know if I would say that it did well enough that
Mm.
it is now a CBS show.
Yeah.
And when it gets to that point, now it's really starting to piss me off because the one thing that is keeping these streaming services afloat is the original shows that they have.
Unique
And
content.
so if the unique content is now being shuffled off to the basic to your cable packages, then why do we subscribe to these streaming
Hmm.
services now? So because I think like Peacock unfortunately is probably the greatest villain in all of this because what does Xfinity do? With a certain cable package, they offer you a premium package
Yep.
for Peacock. And that to me is infuriating because you have to get like one of their super deluxe packages with like
Yeah.
700 channels and all that stuff in order to get that. However, if Xfinity were to offer that as like, hey, you get Peacock if you subscribe to like our lowest tier, you might get some people who would flock to that. Because now all of your phone services like AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile, they all now offer streaming services that's part of their
Yep.
package. So it's like, where else is there left to go? Amazon now offers Grubhub subscriptions if you have Amazon Prime. So is DoorDash and Uber not far behind from all of this? Like how many things can we pile in to one package before you're paying one bill a month and it gives you literally everything that you need? Because
That's what Amazon wants to be. It's
that's where
100% what Amazon wants to be.
they're honestly, if it would simplify things for me, I'd probably pay a little bit more for that if I
All
just would pay
hail
one.
Lord Bezos. It's what it's turning into. And bundle, 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 bundle,
Mhm,
bundle everything.
mhm.
And because that's how you load off products that you
Yep.
want people to buy, but you can't get them to buy it on their own. You bundle.
Mhm. So for me, I think the next great tier for a lot of this for me um, is the movie theater chains. I think the movie theater chains are getting to the point where if if a studio or if one of these streaming services buys a movie theater chain, and we've already had rumors about that, where
Well, technically, Netflix does own one already.
which one?
The Angelica in New York City.
Okay, so there's that. So what's next then? Something's got to
Amazon.
give.
Yep.
Am I mean, Amazon already scooped up MGM, and I can't remember which one was rumored to buy, like Regal or AMC or something like that, but that deal fell apart, and I'm glad for that because that just
Mhm.
feels a little too far. But I
Well,
think
they took the laws away that said that studios can't own movie theaters, so it's
it's
all fair game now.
I think that's probably what's going to be next is going
I
to
can
be a
imagine
giant
Apple
race. I can
so
see
that
Apple
you
doing
so
that.
you know I could have watched Wolf's in a theater. Um Netflix hopefully would mean like they actually play their movies in theaters.
Hmm.
Um instead of like it was in a theater.
Hmm.
The Angelica in New York City, and that's about it. But
Yeah.
it's I feel like we're getting to a point where this is all just getting ridiculous, and we are living in a world where things are just turning back the clock, and soon we're going to have a few streaming services that have mega bundles with mega amounts of content, and it's swimming both ways. You'll have cable stuff on the streaming services, and now we have streaming service stuff on cable.
Well, it's weird because do you think there's ever going to be a point where, like, I think the time has passed where a streaming service could potentially, siphon more people off of cable subscriptions. But I think I think streaming services they blew their chance and now that's why they're reverting back to these old ways
Mm.
of cable. And now that the streaming boom is done, you're not seeing like I think Sony is the one that played this the most smart because they're just like, no, we're not coming out with our own service. We're instead just going to license our stuff to other people.
To
And
Netflix. And there
it's
you
it's
go.
too it's too bad that a lot of their content sucks, but at least they're not incurring mountains of debt in order to
Mm.
try to get people to subscribe to their service.
Like Paramount,
And there you go.
and they're in a bad spot. But yeah, so if you couldn't tell, we're frustrated about this, and
Very.
it's a crazy world out there in terms of the ever changing landscape of streaming. But Mike, thank you so much for coming on to chat streaming services. I mean, cable with me.
Hmm. Bless you. Yeah, I I appreciate you giving me a chance to, just rant about this. And
You know
I have
what
a
really
feel
grinds my gears?
exactly. So it's only a matter of time before we get a streaming service consolidation, and I'm sure when that comes up, you know, we'll chat about it and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. But thank all of you out there for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.